This is Encounters with the Nagual by Armando Torres, the audio version. This section is called The Seers of the New Era. The old and the new seers represent two extreme positions facing the same challenge, the result of the adaptation of sorcerers to very concrete historical circumstances. But today times have changed. By the eagle's design, at least one of the lineages of the new seers has been able to redirect its task. The last 27 Naguals of my line had tried to recover the fearless spirit of the old seers, while at the same time maintaining the sobriety of purpose in the new. In that way, they were able to gather enough energy to attempt a new and more balanced adaptation of the teachings. According to Don Juan, massive changes in energy are happening at the present time, which will inevitably cause the emergence of a new cycle of warriors. To differentiate them from their predecessors, I have called them modern seers, or seers of the new era. Before continuing with this story, Carlos clarified for me that his concept of the new era had nothing to do with the New Age contemporary mystic movement, but was rather an extension of the old pre-Hispanic belief in a series of eras, following on one after the other in the history of the world. I asked him why he had not mentioned anything about this new breed of warriors in his books. He answered, "My books describe a phase of my apprenticeship relative to my benefactor and his cohorts. Although they had conceptualized a new cycle as a strategic need, it was not part of their immediate life. They realized their own actions departed from the rule of the new seers when they allowed and encouraged the popularization of the knowledge. But they left it to me to find the appropriate terms in which to describe what was happening." "At what time did these seers begin to appear?" I asked. "They are barely appearing yet. Everything began with the conquest of Mexico. The new seers took that change as a sign and understood that it was necessary to review the tradition. But things would still have stayed the same if it hadn't been for the manifestation of our lineage of a being whom we call the defier. He returned the sense of adventure and fascination for the unknown to the new seers. Contact with that entity has been decisive for us." Eagerly, I asked him to tell me more about the defier, one of the more extraordinary and incomprehensible characters of his books. He answered, "The defier is an entity of supreme awareness. He was born about 10,000 years ago, but he appeared physically in the lineage at the time of the Nagual Sebastian, in the year 1723. Was the defier a person? He was a man in other times, when the thirst for knowledge was alive and mankind surrendered himself to his love for the earth. He is the typical exponent of that mentality. If you spoke with him, you would notice that we share the same yearning for companionship and an urge for the expansion of awareness. But you would also notice strange things. He lives in another vision. His sense of self is very different from ours, because it embraces a very wide range of sensations. He doesn't have gender, age, nationality, or a defined language. He doesn't have friends or relatives, and worse, there is nobody in the world like him. He passes through the world like a ghost and spends most of his time ensconced in some deep niche of dreaming. His contribution to our lineage, as much in techniques as in theoretical knowledge, was monumental. That warrior knew all the arts of the ancients and much more. You can say that it was his appearance on the scene that led to the germination of the cycle of the modern seers. The second sign, which showed that the time of change was near, was the presence of a foreigner in the lineage, the Nagual Luquan. As you already know, Luquan was Chinese. Although he had received a high education in his own country, his adventurous personality made him become a sailor, and he lived an erratic existence all over the planet until one day his luck put him in the way of power. The young Luan had disembarked in the port of Veracruz, and he was strolling around in search of amusement when a dangerous incident brought him staggering out from a bar, where he collided headfirst into the Nagual Sebastian, who didn't have the time to react. This event, unusual in the life for a sorcerer, was taken as a sign. You can imagine bewilderment of the new seers. The spirit had spoken in an obvious way and ordered that the secrets guarded by generations of warriors should be put in the hands of a stranger. In that way, Luhuan was accepted as the new Nagual, and his knowledge of martial arts became part and parcel of the heritage of the lineage. But the confirmation of these signs happened 2 centuries later, when another Nagual, whose luminous constitution was not of the conventional kind, came into the hands of a certain strange old man, Don Juan Matus. Neither he nor I knew it then, but the destiny of the knowledge of the new seers had been sealed. In one of the last conversations we had, Carlos characterized the seers of today as warriors who had distinguished by their frankness. They reject the furtive attitudes that had been traditionally distinguished sorcerers and had renounced every doctrine that it's not crystal clear and based on immediate verification. Another peculiarity which identifies them is that, as opposed to their ancestors, they are collectively guided toward freedom. The old seers thought about freedom as a theoretical goal, something that was beyond their concrete possibilities, while the new seers saw it exclusively as an individual commitment. For the seers of today, however, to be free is the collective purpose of a group of power, the essence of their actions and their reason for being. Modern warriors are inflexibly committed to each other. They have sacrificed their concerns as individuals for the sake of the group. Their bond of power gives them encouragement and provides a continual challenge to prevent them from lowering their guard, and their oath as warriors is based on the purpose of departing together to the third attention. Closer than ever to freedom, these warriors are more independent and more self-sufficient than their predecessors. But the most remarkable thing about them is their capacity for revision. At this time, seekers of knowledge are forced to thoroughly examine everything that has been said in the past and adapting traditional knowledge to the modality of the time in order for the warrior's way to be truly and finally understood by people. The technique which prevents that revision from drifting towards the capricious is seeing. To see the luminous nature of the world permits us to choose, without any possibility of error, the most appropriate symbols to transmit ideas. Part of my task as a Nagual has been to renew the nomenclature. Words wear out. Don Juan himself used terms which, from my point of view, were already archaic, because they were linked to the Mexico of antiquity, not with today's world. However, due to lack of time, I have not dedicated enough attention to this matter. It is a task that I am giving to those who want to assume it. The stage of knowledge inaugurated by my books breaks the course of Nagualism in 2. I have come to put emphasis on intent, the pursuit of sanity, the sobriety, and the sense of a group of power, and to abolish the servitude of secrecy and openly reveal the magical passes. The goal of the modern seers is, more than ever, total freedom. But to achieve it, it is important that the strategies are continually refined. A society that no longer openly persecutes sorcerers does not serve us as a training ground. It is our duty, then, to find new fields where we can exercise and train our potentialities. According to Don Juan, the best of those fields is in the intellect, and it also functions as a guarantee that strategies of popularization and adaptation will work correctly. Ignorance can no longer be accepted. The time of the wild sorcerers is already past. The sorcerers of the old guard were stagnated in their traditions, and they lost their ticket to eternity. We don't want the same thing to happen to us now. Therefore, the rule for the seers of the new era is preparation. That is their distinctive stamp. They should not only prepare in terms of the arts of sorcery, but also cultivate their minds in order to know and understand everything. The intellect is the comfort of today's Toltec, just as in the past it was the affection for the rituals. Don Juan said that each warrior of this new cycle should have at least a university degree. to take advantage of the defenses against disinformation which modern science has created. That will heighten the chances of survival for the entire party, and in the future, this will be even more valuable.